really lucky today.
Why?
Because I heard yesterday for the first time, there's a nefesh, ruach,
But you're going to give me a whole long
neshama, right? And then there's a neshama within a neshama.
Right.
So you would have to give me that.
I don't know.
It's 3 levels, by the way, which are 3 levels of your spirituality. So the nefesh has to do with the letters. It talks about letters of the word, but you can't spell a letter without a vowel.
Right.
So the next level is ruach,
Okay.
and then the shama is the, what's it, tumim?
Yeah.
Tumim, which is like the trope in the Torah, but it's or an emphasis. And sometimes how you emphasize a word, it has different meaning. So we'll let the rabbi tell me all.
All right. Excellent. You are getting very advanced, David.
I'm impressed. I never heard anything like that before.
Very impressive.
Should I tell everybody if I have to leave early, I'm not being disrespectful?
No, no, it's fine. Don't worry
You're
about
good. You're good.
it. Okay.
Happy to have you here.
Okay. Okay, thank you everybody for joining us. This is really a historic moment that we are back in person. And we're very, very grateful to the JCA for allowing us to really spread out. And thank you to all of you, the brave people that have come out and are social distancing to try to get back to some kind of normalcy. And thank you to all of you virtually on Zoom and on Facebook Live that are watching us and joining us on this wonderful lunch and learn right before Rosh Hashanah. I just want to thank Rachel for this wonderful, for helping us and joining us, and the JCA for doing the lunch and learn. Before I start, there's someone that wants to say a few words. And now that we're back alive, Ken Jacob, right, wants to just say a few words before we start. So, Ken Jacob.
Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you for all of you tuning in at home and all of you in person. It's great to see people live for the first time in 6 months. This is a very historic day because not only is it our first live lunch and learn since this started with the pandemic, but we're also celebrating our 7th year of lunch and learns here in Jacksonville with Rabbi Feigenbaum. Wonderful. And not only that, but today is Rabbi Feigenbaum's birthday. So before we sing, I do want to thank Dr. Gene Walchuk for being our co-sponsor today. And with that, let's all sing happy birthday.
Oh, no. Really?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rabbi. Happy birthday to you. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, thank you. So you guys can't see, but I did have a big smile on my face. But I will wear the mask. Thank God, God blessed me with a loud voice that even with a mask, I think you can all hear me, right? So, the mask is not going to hinder that. So again, big thank you to our sponsors, Gene Waltz virtually, Ken Jacob locally. It's so nice that the sponsors, are going with everybody. We have it on virtual, we have it here in person. But let's get cracking. So today's topic, right, is so far so good. And we're going to talk about the shofar. We're going to talk about blowing the shofar. We're going to talk about Rosh Hashanah, right? But I want to start off, right, with it's seemingly a joke, right? It is a joke, but it's something to think about. And I think before Rosh Hashanah, it's something to really think about. So this guy, gets shipwrecked, and he goes and he gets stranded on a desert island. He's out by himself. He's been there for many years. Finally, there's people that come and rescue him, and they come onto the island. And they say, "Whoa, look what you've done! You built up the whole place. Right? You have homes, and you have this, and you have that." And he said, "Yeah, that's it. Thank God. I've been here for a little while. I have to make it as my residence." And then they noticed, and they said, "1 second, we see there's 2 synagogues here. So why do you need 2 synagogues?" He says, "1 second. I need a synagogue that I go to, and I need a synagogue that I don't go to." Right? So, sometimes we feel the difference. We feel like we have to say we're not part of this, we're not part of that. And We're going to tie it into the shofar a little bit, but I just wanted to throw it out there. We haven't been together in so long. I thank God each time did open up, right, but with a very small number, just seeing so many faces that I haven't seen in so long. Susie and Ken, the ladies in JCA, I see every once in a while, in the Federation and JCA, I see every once in a while, right? But it's so nice to see people in person, and especially virtual. We have to rip down those differences. We have to not say there's something I don't go to, but let's just talk about positive. I go here, other people might go somewhere else, right? But let's try to unite ourselves. Let's try to connect ourselves. And with that merit of uniting ourselves, being together, recognizing and connecting to the things that we have similar, and not focusing on the things that we have differently, God willing, we'll have a much better year coming and a much better Zardin, a much better decree this year than we had last year. So there's something to start off with, something to think about. Now let's get into the shofar. So the first verse that we have, and sorry, on virtual, you don't have the source sheet that I gave out. Feel free to email me. I'll be happy to email it to you if you want. Right? But the first thing is, there's a very famous verse that King David says, Ashrei ha'am yodea trua. Happy are the people who know the trua. And happy are the people that know the trua. And the commentary says, what does it mean, happy are the people that know the trua? Right? We have to blow the shofar. It's a mitzvah. It's brought down in the Torah, but we have to blow the shofar. I don't know, some people probably find it a little too loud. Some people find it not loud enough. Right? Some people say, well, he didn't really blow so well. His tekiah wasn't long enough. Right? His farm, he crackled a little too much. Now we all find like, what do you mean happy are the people that know the truth? What does that mean exactly? And what does this verse mean? Really, it's two questions. Number one, what does it mean happy? And number two, what does it mean yodea? They listen. You listen to the truth. You don't know the truth. You don't know the blowing. You listen to it. Okay, someone that's learning it, they'll learn it. But what does it mean happy are the people, happy and yodea, they know? That's question number one. And that's what we're going to aim to answer today. What does all this mean exactly? So we're going to digress like we usually do, and we'll come back to it. There's a verse in this week's Torah portion that goes like this: Hazinu hashamayim va'adabeira. Listen, Hazinu means listen. Hashamayim, the heavens, va'adabeira, and I will speak. The shishma aretz imre free, and let the earth hear the words of my mouth. So the commentaries want to know, okay, of course it's a metaphor, right? The Shemayim, the heavens and the earth, right? But there's two different forms of listening, right? Hazinu, listen, right? And then Adaber, and I'll speak. The Shishma, and you should listen, right? Again, two different kinds of listening. So we see we have listening and we have talking, right? We have listening and talking. And what does it mean that Haaretz Imre Pri, the earth hears the words of my mouth? Whose mouth? God's mouth, our mouth, right? The earth's mouth. What does it mean, the mouth of who? What does that mean exactly? And then Hashemayim v'adaber, the heavens will speak. The heavens are speaking. Okay, we've been having terrible storms lately, right? I remember we were in the middle of davening over Shabbos, and all of a sudden it was like this Friday night. All of a sudden it was just thunder, right? We're like, okay, let the chazan just go as long as he wants. Don't go anywhere. So what does it mean that the heavens talk? What does this mean exactly? So the commentaries explain something very powerful. The heavens and the earth represent something that's eternal, something that's forever. Right? Things come and go. Man comes and goes. Structures come and go. Right? But the heavens and the earth are around forever. They're never going anywhere. Right? As long as we have earth, maybe if someone's standing on the corner saying the heavens are going to fall, right? Anybody here know asterisks? Yeah, asterisks and obelisks. Oh, good. You got a couple asterisks and obelisks. It's a cartoon when I was a kid, and now I like reading it. Right? It's like similar. It's just whatever. Okay, if you don't know it, sorry. Right? Go. I'll send you a link afterwards. Right? But there's a whole thing about they're very into the heavens falling. Right? But the heavens and the earth are around forever. They're eternal. So the parsha starts off, Moshe starts speaking to the Jewish people and saying, Hazinu Hashemayim v'adaber means to say the heavens listen. The way we have to connect with the Torah, the way we have to connect ourselves to the mitzvot is we have to listen in a way that will stick with us forever, like the heavens. Now, the heavens represent something lofty, right? Things that are lofty, up in the sky. That's what the heavens represent. So we have to realize there are things that are lofty, things that are beyond our comprehension, or things that we strive to connect with. And we have to listen to it. We have to, adaber, we also have to communicate, and we have to talk. And we have to, not necessarily physically talking, but we have to engage and be part of something that's a little more lofty than I am. Something that's a little beyond my comfort level. Different people I've been speaking to in the last couple of days, and I've been talking to myself too, even not in the shower, right? But I've been talking to this concept that let's try to take on something that's a little past my comfort zone. We all have something that's in our comfort zone. We all have something that, we need to tighten the wheels. We need to, we need to maybe, strengthen ourselves, maybe come to services a little more, maybe, make a blessing a little more, wherever one is holding. But then there's something that's just a little past my comfort zone, whatever that may be. Each one of us is something different. If it's keeping a little more kosher, if it's keeping a little Shabbat, if it's making sure you don't gossip, right? Some people have a hard time not gossiping, right? So posting something on Facebook, being a little more kinder to people, right? Some people are just naturally not so kind. Whatever that may be, but something a little out of your comfort zone. We have to strive to take on something during these days, right? To connect with. And that's Shemayim. That's what it means, heaven. Something a little more lofty, something that's a little past my comfort zone, something that I haven't done ever in my life, or maybe I did a long time ago and I haven't done in a little while. So we have to listen, we have to communicate, we have to be part of it, we have to be engaged. And then ha'aretz. Ha'aretz means to say something that is down in the earth, right? We say, oh, I'm a grounded person, right? That's what we call it. I'm a grounded person. What is that referring to? It means to say, ha'aretz refers to something that I am comfortable with, something that I take for granted. There are so many things. There's no one that could say that they're not comfortable with something in their Judaism, whatever level that may be. If it's Yom Kippur, right? If it's lighting Friday night candles, right? If it's making sure your kids go to Hebrew school or day school, or wherever one is holding, there's always something that we're comfortable with. That's just the way my group, this is how I grew up, this is my thing. But the problem with that is that we get complacent. The problem with that is that we get comfortable in it and we don't tighten the screws on that. We don't reflect internally on that. We don't think about it. And therefore it says, the Shishma Aretz Imrefri, the earth, the things that you are comfortable with, has to listen Imrefri to my mouth. The idea is, right, that the things that just constantly are coming out, it's not a deep word, I'm not engaging. It's things that are just come out from my mouth. I mean to say I'm not really, Dibor refers to creation, right? Dibor is a higher level of talking. Dibor is a creation, creating something. That's what Dibor is. P is just the things that come out of my mouth. And so we're saying, right, that we're saying that God, we're saying God is telling us, Moshe is telling us that we have to, at all times, think about these two different levels. Think about the lofty and think about the things that we're comfortable with. And we have to listen to it. We have to engage in it. And we can't get complacent in the things that we do. Because you know what happens to the things that you're complacent in? And I want everybody to stop for a second and think about things that they were very comfortable with 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, right? Different stage of your life. And now, are you as comfortable as you were doing them back then? If you haven't really thought about it, you haven't really, maybe you're not even doing it. You know, some people might have, gone to services more, but then, the kids and the husband or the wife and the kids' and birthday parties and this and that and so many different things. And they used to go to services on a normal basis. It was normal to go to services on Shabbat, right? But now, maybe once a month, maybe whatever. We have to figure it, put it in our calendar. It's because we got complacent. We didn't strengthen, we didn't tighten the screws. We didn't keep on thinking about it. And then, of course, there's the things that are more lofty, things that are you're not comfortable. So why am I bringing this in? It's a good point to bring out. Why am I bringing this in? And why does this connect to the shofar? Sorry, guys. All right, why does it connect to the shofar? So Maimonides said something very powerful. And guys, if there's any questions, sorry, on Zoom, this time I'm not going to be able to answer questions on chat. It's going to be hard. I'm a little further back. I'll be more than happy to answer afterwards. But guys, if there's any questions or comments, please feel free to speak up, and I'll repeat the question for the people on virtual. So Maimonides says something very powerful. The next source is like this. Maimonides says, although the blowing of the shofar in Rosh Hashanah is scripture decreed, as we said, it's biblically decreed, right? There is a hint to this performance, which means to say, there's a hint to it in verses, and what is the thought behind it? What is the meaning behind it? As it says in the verse, awaken, you sleepers, from your sleep, and your slumber from your dozing, right? Means to say, Iru Mishnatkim, wake up from your slumber, wake up from your sleep. What is a shofar? Now we're going to get into this. What is a shofar? The shofar is right? Sorry, I meant to bring my shofar, I forgot. Right? But as Ken mentioned, I think Hubi did a better job on Sunday than I did. So, so I'm out. Right? But what's a shofar? Right? The shofar is a loud cry. It's a loud sound. So says Maimonides, the concept of the shofar is to wake us up, to snap out of it, as we say. Right? Sometimes the worst is, and this should never happen to anybody, right? We do have David here, right? But when you're driving on the road late at night, and all of a sudden you hit the side of the road, and goes, right? That never happened, of course, to me, right? But what does that sound? Why does it make that sound? Because it wakes you up, it jolts you, and you get like a second wind. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Okay, let's drink some more coffee and more soda and whatever it is, right? But it jolts you out and it wakes you up. That's a concept of the shofar. Says Maimonides, the idea of the shofar is to jolt you, to wake you, and that's why we start off in the beginning of Elul. Why do we start the beginning of Elul? The biblical obligation is only on Rosh Hashanah. Why do we start the beginning of Elul? Because we need a whole month to wake us up, to get us ready, to prepare. You can't just walk into Judgment Day like that, right? You have to prepare an argument. You have to prepare yourself. You have to make sure you have, all your statements in your opening statements and your closing statements. And I'm not a lawyer, but watch enough movies, right? You have to prepare yourself. So Elul is a time of preparing ourselves, as we've mentioned in previous classes. So Maimonides says we start blowing the shofar in the beginning of Elul. Iru Mishnatkim can wake up from your slumber. But what does it mean, wake up from your slumber? The slumber, we're awake, we're walking around, we're doing okay. Say the commentaries, what does it mean slumber is what we just talked about? These two things in our lives, things that we're comfortable in, things that we are complacent in, and things that we don't even think about on a daily basis. That's that's not me. Rabbi, you know who I am, you know where I grew up, right? I've heard this many times. Yeah, I go to that synagogue, I'm not. So many times we don't even connect with things, don't even think about things because we push it out, something that's beyond our comfort zone, something that's not connected. And then there's the things, as we said, things that are us, things that we're complacent in, that we don't think about. So the shofar, we blow the shofar. The first idea of the shofar, I'm going to talk a couple of them. The first idea of the shofar is, Iru Mishnatkim can wake up from your slumber. What kind of slumber? These 2 points. Number one, things that we're complacent in, things that we're comfortable in. And each one is different. For me, what I'm complacent, what I'm comfortable in, it doesn't mean I'm comfortable. Right? But I go to services every morning because I go to services every morning. So it's waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, or not now it's 5:45 in the morning because services now is 6:15. Right? I'm not comfortable doing it, but I don't think twice about doing it. right? Because where I'm holding and whatever people do, other people are doing, it doesn't make a difference where you're holding in life, but there's always something that you can place in. So we have to wake up. We have to think about what we're doing. As a famous statement, to do good things in the world, first you must know who you are and what gives you meaning to your life. We have to start reflecting internally. We have to think about what gives us meaning in our lives. We have to think about what is our purpose? Why are we doing what we're doing? Because you want the mitzvot to start giving you purpose. You want to start doing good with the mitzvot. You want to do more chesed. You want to do more. You want to make sure your kids have a good Jewish education. Right? You want to make sure that your family is going to be connected to Judaism for eternity like the Jewish people are. You have to look internally and say, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? You have to have meaning. You have to have connection. And part of being complacent is not only not thinking about it, but also understanding why you're doing it. And there's a couple of questions that one should ask, and then we'll move on to the next idea of the shofar on the bottom of the page. You had all the money in the world. Right? I tell my kids all the time, yeah, when we win the lottery, I tell my kids all the time. They say, I won a $5 scratch. So Hoogie said, Daddy, you won the lottery. I said, not that much. We need to win a bigger lottery, right? But, you know, if you had all the money in the world, what would you spend your time? What would your perfect day look like? Right? What activities set your soul on fire? What do you do? What do you do that you love doing? Right? We have to start thinking and see, are these ideas connected to spirituality? Are these ideas connected to our Judaism? Right? So if you love doing chesed, you love doing tikkun olam. So make sure that the tikkun olam that you're doing fits with the Torah also. You can do many of tikkun olam, helping the poor, right? Making sure that the places in Israel don't have swamps and garbages, right? There's so many things that you can do that are connected also to Judaism, connected to your spiritual growth. So it is something to think about. Step number one. Right? Step number one, wake up from your slumber, and I can't stress it enough. And I'm talking to myself. There's so many times that we just live in rote. We just do. We don't think about it. You know, I've said this joke many times, so you don't have to laugh. It's okay, right? You know, but and I've said it in many different ways, but I think it really fits now also. It's like the guy that has the interview, right, in Manhattan. Right, and he's driving on the Palisade, and then he's going to take the West Side Highway. Anybody that's lived in New York and Manhattan knows that it's chaos and craziness, right? And there's traffic, and he's going to be late to his interview. And he says, "God, the only way I'm going to make it is if you give me a parking spot right in front, right in front. And God, if you do that, you know, I'm gonna change my life. I'm gonna eat kosher. I'm gonna make blessing. I'm gonna learn more Torah. I'm gonna everything." And you know, in New York, most streets are one way. And as he gets to the street, and he turns onto the street, and he's the first car on the street, a guy pulls out right in front of the building. He says, "Oh God, I don't need your help anymore." Because that was about talking, but we got so complacent, we got so involved in our daily lives, and we don't see God in the day-to-day things. That's also part of being complacent. Part of being complacent, part of being comfortable is not recognizing that God is actually helping you. When we think it's just part of nature, we think it's just part of our daily activities, we think it's part of our whatever it is. Of course, we have to put our effort, and we have to struggle, and we have to work, and we have to do our thing. We also have to recognize our relationship with God. We have to recognize what's going on when things happen, good or bad. We have to recognize God as part of being complacent also. Okay, let's move on. Let's turn the page. Let's move on to the next source. This is from the Shlah HaKadosh, who lived in the 16th century. He was a Kabbalist in the 16th century. He was one of the students of the great Arizal. Right? And he says something very, very powerful, something very interesting. And he says like this. Right? He says that we know when we blow the shofar, right, there's three sounds. Right? There's a tu, the kia, right? And then there's the shvarim, tu, right? Kia shvarim, trua, tu, and then there's the kia again, tu, And the three sound, and we repeat the tkiya over again. So the commentators want to know, what's with the three sounds? What's wrong? Why can't we just have a tkiya? If it's like Maimonides says, to wake you up, right? So the tkiya is the one that wakes you up. Go, to, and that's to wake you up. Why do we need the shvarm and the trua? What's the purpose of the other one? So the Talmud goes and speaks about the concept of a cry, a yearning, right? The Talmud speaks about there's three different kinds of cries, right? There's the long cry, and then there's a cry, and then there's like a baby, right? So please don't record that, right? but there's a different cries, right? There's a different cry. And the Talmud speaks about the yearning of the heart and different kinds of yearning. I want to take a little different direction. The Shlach Kaddish says something a little different. It says the Shlach Kaddish, and we'll read it inside. Right? It starts off the second one. The Torah says that tkiya, a straight blast, corresponds to the verse that God created man straight, pure, untainted by sin. We blow the first to focus on who we truly are and our potential. The first tkiya is straight, unbroken. When God created man, when he puts us into the world, right? When we're born, we're pure. A baby's pure, right? Belichate, without sin. Only when they get older, right, they start understanding a little more, and really, Kabbalistically, a child until they're bar or bat mitzvah, they don't acquire any sins. And only once they become obligated in mitzvot, right? But a child is considered pure. For sure, baby, older ones, chinuch and things like that, more of a deeper concept. But the first tkiya is saying what our potentials are. Tkiya, to pure sin, without any break, without anything. We sometimes, then we said we blow the second one. We sometimes break ourselves, all right? We sometimes break ourselves, our straightness, by our misdeeds. Hence, we blow a shvarim, a broken blast. When one fully realizes their shortcomings, they cry out to God. They cry out of a trua. Hence, trua is short of sound of wailing. And we call that shuva. So it's really stages of a person. And it's our potential, the tkiya, to our potential, our ability to be straight without sin, without an aveira, right, without transgressions, just connecting to our relationship with our Father in heaven, and then reality sets in, and it's a shvarim, broken. We break ourselves. We have sin. There's no, as King Solomon says, in tzaddik baretz hayech, there's not a righteous person in the world that doesn't sin. And then when we connect to that and we realize that, then we start crying, right? Then we start crying. Then we start the concept of tshuva, right? The realization that we need to reconnect with our Father in heaven. The example that I've seen, right, brought down is like a father, right, like a child by parent. The child at first is pure, right? He's with his parents. Then he grows up a little bit, right, and he gets lost. Until he recognizes that he's lost, he's broken. Once he starts recognizing that he's lost, then he starts crying. And the cry, a lot of times, right, is how they find the child, because they hear the child crying. So if it's lost in the playroom, right, because no one's watching him, or the child is crying in the crib because no one's paying attention to him, right? But the way for the child, the natural way for the child to make itself heard or to make it known is through crying. So by us, the concept of tshuva, and is for us to be in tune with ourselves, that we realize, we recognize that we're broken a little. We're broken. Then says the Shlach Kaddish, after tshuva, we blow another long one, right? Because after tshuva, then we're straight again, we're pure again. So we blow another tkiya, another long tkiya, to remind ourselves that we're straight again. So there's a couple of lessons to learn out of this. Number one, just reality. We have to recognize that in the tkiya, in the shvarim, in the blowing of the shofar, right? God is telling us that He understands who we are. He understands that we get broken. He puts a shvarim there. At Tkiya shvarim, He put the shvarim there. He put the broken tkiya. He put in the blowing that's broken to remind us, not to try to shove it under the carpet or to hide from it. That's part of humanity. It's part of who we are. We're not perfect. But then he gives us the way out. Is the crying, is the connection, is thinking about ourselves, right? Is being in tune with ourselves, saying, hey, we have to do something about this. We can't stay broken our whole lives. We have to start reconnecting. And that's Shofar, the true Asar. And then we could reconnect again and be straight again. We blow the final tekiah. My friends, you want to hear something beautiful? The end of Yom Kippur. How do we close Yom Kippur? Come on, guys. How do we close Yom Kippur? What? Ne'ilah. How do we close Ne'ilah? What's the last thing that we do? Very good. We blow the shofar. How do we blow the shofar? Do we do all three? No. What do we do? Just one, the long one. Why? Why do we only blow the long one? Excellent, Jim. Very good. Like we just said. Right? Excellent. Right? We blow only the long one at the end of Yom Kippur, because like we just explained, the long one represents that we're pure. We are being confident that we were forgiven in Yom Kippur. We are confident that we had a good Yom Kippur and God forgave us, and we're starting with a clean slate again. We're like a baby. We're starting with a clean slate, so therefore we blow one long after Ne'ilah, right? After saying Shema Yisrael, and we say Hashem Hu Elokim 7 times, right? And the paroches, the ark was open, the whole Ne'ilah. We blow the one long tekiah is because to remind us and for us to recognize that we have a clean slate. We're starting over again. Like we just said, tekiah represents purity. Tekiah represents like we're a baby starting off fresh. When we blow the shofar, right, let's think about this. Let's think about our potential, what we could have been. Think about where we are now. Think about it. We have to start crying about it. We have to start reflecting internally and where we could be. The final tekiah. That's one idea. That's idea number 2. The first one was wake up from your slumber. That didn't explain the 3 different kinds. Based on the Talmud, 3 different kind of cries. Okay, but wake up from your slumber. We explained what does it mean, wake up from your slumber. 2 different kinds of slumbers, things that we're accustomed to, our daily lives. We do and wrote, and things that we feel like are beyond our scope of ability to do, to change. It's a little beyond us. Wake up from your slumber. No, you could. You try it. Try for a little bit. Don't be scared. Right? Put your foot into the water a little bit, and you'll see you could swim. Right? You could if you just tried. And then the second idea we just said now is from the Shlach Kadosh, the concept of the 3 tekiyahs, right? To represent purity of the tekiah, right? Like a baby, broken, not a righteous person world doesn't sin. The Shvarim, we have to start crying, we have to reflect, and then again, tekiah, that we have the ability, right, to reconnect to that, and that's what we blow on Yom Kippur, one long one. There's another idea that's brought down, and we'll end with this last idea, right, and then we'll open up for questions and answers if anybody has any questions. There's another idea that the commentaries explain that when we blow a tekiah, right, the tekiah, the blowing of the shofar, thank you, David. Right? When we blow the shofar, right? We find many times in the Torah that there's the concept of blowing the shofar. And we say in the verses in the Musaf, when we speak about the shofar, it says, "V'taka b'shofar gadol l'cherusenu." We will blow the final shofar for our redemption. So the shofar also represents the concept of redemption. We find that in the Mount Sinai, there was a blowing of the shofar. And at Mount Sinai, there was also, in the verses over there. And what else do you blow a shofar? Not necessarily a shofar, as we have the concept of a trumpet, is where they inaugurate a new king. Right? So we find the idea of a shofar is also bringing in a happy time. We find the concept of a shofar also represents the idea of happiness, of good times ahead. Right? Receiving the Torah, the final redemption, anointing a new king. You hope that the new king will be a better king than the one beforehand. And so the shofar also represents a new beginning, a happiness, a simcha, a gladdened time. And says the commentaries that we blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah is because Rosh Hashanah, as we said, is a day of judgment. But it's not a day of judgment like in a secular world. We just say when someone's in a day of judgment in a secular world, yeah, he has to come to court, present himself, he looks nice and everything. But it's like a sad day. And it's a sad day, it's a hard day, it's a tense day. Rosh Hashanah is like that. But the commentaries tell us that Rosh Hashanah is considered a holiday. Rosh Hashanah is a holiday. We sit down at a meal, right? We have a night meal, we have a day meal. Of course, Jews always have to mix food inside, right? We always have to have food there, right? But we have meals, right? It's considered a Yom Tov. It's considered a holiday. Moadim, we say the concept of a Moed. Why is Rosh Hashanah considered a Moed, a holiday? It's a judgment day. Okay, let's just get over with it. But why is it considered a holiday? I say the commentaries is because when someone, right, in Judaism, right, when we have judgment, it's an opportunity for a relationship. Ultimately, our purpose in this world is to build our relationship with our Father in heaven. That's our ultimate purpose. And what else are we here for? Our span of our lives, as King David said, right, even 80 years, 70, 80 years. Right, okay, now it's a little older, right, because our quality of life has gone up. Right, so 90 years, 100 years. How many 100-year-olds do you know? I've gone in River Garden to have a couple, right? But how many 100-year-olds do you know? So our span of our physical life is limited. So what's our purpose here? Our purpose here is to build our relationship with our Father in heaven and reconnect our soul on the Shema that's eternal, that's forever. And reconnect it with our Father in heaven to build it. And when we go to our eternal life after 120, we have built a relationship in this world. We have gained and struggled, and we get an eternal reward in the world to come. So Rosh Hashanah, a day of judgment, we don't look at it as being prosecuted. We don't look at it as the end of all. On the contrary, we blow a shofar to say it's a new beginning. It's the beginning of the year. It's a beginning of a new opportunity to reconnect with our Father in heaven. It's another way for us to say, God, we know you're a king. God, we understand that's Malchios, kingship. Right? We understand that we are not perfect, like we spoke about the breaking the shofar. But God, as we say the famous prayer of Vinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. We don't just say Malkeinu, our King. We say our Father, our King. Because we understand that our relationship with our Father is a mixed relationship. It's not just a Father, right? Where we could, try to get our way and whatever it is. But it's also our King. And sometimes children, try to get their way with their parents. They have their parent, which one they think they could, and they go to one and say, really, can we have it? Right? And, each one they know which one has a little more soft spot for certain things. But God is also our King, but he's also our Father. And the whole concept of Rosh Hashanah is to remind ourselves, yes, it's a day of judgment. But if you look through the program, we don't focus on judgment on Rosh Hashanah at all. It's mind-boggling. We spoke about this in other classes in previous years. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because we're going to finish in 2 minutes. Right? But we don't mention judgment at all in Rosh Hashanah. We don't have any judgment in Rosh Hashanah. Yom Kippur, we bang ourselves away, right? And we speak about our sins and we ask for forgiveness. But on Rosh Hashanah, we don't ask for forgiveness. We don't do anything. It's because, yes, it's a day of judgment. We don't focus on that. What we focus on Rosh Hashanah is on our Vino, on our Father, the relationship. And we try to bypass the whole judgment by reminding ourselves and showing God that we are working on this to build our relationship. And therefore, we blow the shofar, the kia, different kind of trumpets we spoke about before, our other ideas. But based on this idea, it's a sign of the shofar over here is a sign of a new beginning, a sign of, it's a concept of happiness. It's a concept of we're excited. We're excited to inaugurate God as our God, as our King, as our Father. So it's a new perspective of the shofar. So the two we spoke about beforehand was either the cry, waking us up, the concept of recognizing our potential, recognizing our flaws, and our ability to change it. What we're saying now, the third explanation of the shofar is, and they're all correct, and we have to focus on all of them, is that the shofar also is a blast of joy, of happiness, of excitement, of a new beginning, of inauguration of a new king, inauguration of the end of the Messianic era, the time we got the tablets and the Torah. It's a time for us to recognize we could reconnect with our Father in heaven like no other time during the year. Clean slate, start over again. That's why we don't speak about sin or any of that stuff in Rosh Hashanah. And based on this, and the commentaries also, that's why we blow a tekiah, shofar, at the end of Yom Kippur. Same idea. And we spoke about beforehand the concept that we're pure, or it's clean. Based on what we're saying now, and again, they're both true. All concepts are true. We have to think about all of them. Is that we're end of Yom Kippur, after we banged ourselves and after we asked for forgiveness, but at the end we're saying the ultimate thing that we want from God is just the relationship. We just want to build that relationship with God. Blow the tekiah, right, to show a new inauguration, a new beginning. Right? Just like we did in Rosh Hashanah, we're connecting to that power of Rosh Hashanah, saying we're starting over again. God, you're our King. Let's start a new relationship, and we're going to have a new year. And hopefully this year will be better than the year before. Thank you all for joining us. Just once again, I want to thank Ken Jacob and Gene Walchuk and the Jacob family and the Walchuk family for sponsoring our first social distancing lunch and learn. God willing, we will be doing this next month. So please stay tuned. If it's here in the JCA or if we find another place, we just have to have a place that has more space. So we have to see that, and we hope to see more people here. We can fit more people here, but thank you all for joining us online. Wishing everybody a tova, a good year signing. And as the famous idea is, why does it say Shana Tova Umituka? Right? A good year in Mituka means a sweet new year. Good year is not enough. Commentary says because everything that God does, of course, is for the good. But it's be Mituka, we should feel the sweetness of the good also. Right? Of course, everything that would happen this past year is good. We don't understand it. It's beyond our comprehension. And we go into Rosh Hashanah knowing that and realizing that we ask for the Dukkah, sweet year. So God, we see the goodness. We see how it's good for us. So we should all go in thinking about these different concepts. And I just want to throw out one thing. This is open to everybody, even if you didn't sign up. On Rosh Hashanah day, Shabbat, first day Rosh Hashanah, and second day Rosh Hashanah, I'll be hosting in Eitz Chaim, not live, sorry, you're going to have to come, right? A explanatory class, one class at 12:30. Services should be over probably about 12 o'clock because we're doing it quicker. But we'll have an explanatory class at 12:30. Be plenty of space to spread out. There's a whole sanctuary in the social hall. And I'll just talk a little louder if I need to. But please join us. And on Sunday, the second day of Rosh Hashanah, we'll have first a shofar blowing for those that want to hear the shofar in person. We'll have a shofar blowing at 12:30, followed by, again, another explanatory class. And that you don't have to sign up for it, just show up. And please join us for that. Wishing everybody again a Shana Tova Mituka. Thank you all for joining us. If anybody has any questions, feel free. I'll unmute you all on Zoom. Any questions or comments? This is on Facebook also, yes. Go ahead.
If you talk to somebody before Rosh Hashanah, and you ask